This is the Content Marketing Podcast, episode number 214, What's Up with Email in 2017? Hello and welcome to the Content Marketing Podcast. This is the show where we hope you grow your tribe and your bottom line through insanely good content. I'm your host, Rachel Parker of Resonance Content Marketing, and today is February 16th, 2017. Hello, or as we say in Texas, howdy, or howdy y'all, if you want to be real proper. And thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. Just a reminder, this podcast is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play Music. So if you like what you hear, please feel free to click on over and subscribe. We also have an RSS feed if you use a different app for your podcast listening pleasure. Also, I invite you to check out my complimentary audio and ebook called 5 Things You Must Know About Content Marketing. Grab your free copy to learn the 5 things you must know to reap the benefits of a solid content marketing program. To grab your copy, go to resonancecontent.com/resources, and you'll see the link right there at the top of the page. Okay, last week we talked about organic reach on social media. Hey, Sophie, I got a pug on my lap. We talked about organic reach on social media. Is it really dead? And if so, how do we deal with it? Now, if you happen to miss that episode, feel free to check it out on iTunes or our various venues or via the RSS feed. Today we're visiting an old friend or an old lover, if you will. I am talking about email, and we're going to look at an update on what's going on with email for 2017. But first, it's time to check in with our news feed for this week's rundown of news you can use. Okay, some news out of, believe it or not, YouTube. Remember YouTube? Kicking off today's news feed, YouTube has announced it has rolled out mobile live streaming to, and I quote, every creator, with more than 10,000 subscribers, and has announced that other creators will have it soon. That sound you hear in the background is a pug licking my hand. It's funny, Sophie ignores me all day long, but when I sit down to record this podcast, she suddenly wants some attention. So apologize for the background noise. Anyway, so yeah, YouTube has announced that mobile live streaming will be built directly into the YouTube mobile app and has all the same features as regular YouTube videos, such as search, the ability to find videos through playlists and recommendations, and also protections from unauthorized use. Now, YouTube began testing this feature last June with a select group of creators, and now they are expanding that to those with 10,000 subscribers or more. I am not in that group. I'm nowhere close to being in that group. And you know, it's kind of funny to see YouTube kind of start catching up or coming up to speed with the live video craze that's going on right now. So with this latest development, and I can understand, you know, YouTube is an important brand. I mean, video is their thing. That's their space. They don't want to jump into something just to be doing it. And so I can understand them being very cautious. And when I look at this development, I see this could go one of 2 ways. Number one, it could be a total waste of time because Facebook, everyone's favorite 800-pound gorilla, has already taken over the live streaming video space, and there's just no room for anybody else, including YouTube. Or it could really give Facebook a run for its money because of YouTube's unique features, such as a wonderful search engine. Remember, YouTube is the number 2 search engine in the world after Google. So it could be, hey Soph, it could be that those unique features could really make YouTube a force to be reckoned with in this space, and it could be cause for Facebook getting very nervous about what happens next. So, again, that feature is currently available to those with 10,000 subscribers or more, and will be rolled out more generally in the probably months to come. And we will definitely keep you posted on that YouTube live mobile video feature. Okay, some news out of LinkedIn. LinkedIn now allows publishers to directly manage comments on individual published articles on LinkedIn at any time. LinkedIn stated in a company blog post that this option is currently only available for long-form articles on the site. In other words, content published through LinkedIn Publisher. However, LinkedIn plans to add this option to turn off comments on all posts very soon. LinkedIn publishers can now also report, flag, or hide abusive or offensive comments on their LinkedIn articles. So apparently LinkedIn is seeing a certain amount of trolling going on, and they are looking to protect their publishers from that. So now in the past, users have been able to report posts that were either offensive or otherwise inappropriate, but this is the first time specific comments can be reported. So that's coming out of LinkedIn. Publishers will be sorry, can't talk today. They've added the option to disable comments on published articles. Now, I personally have not had that issue on anything that I published. Of course, I could imagine someone like with a huge following, Gary Vaynerchuk or whoever, might be running into issues like that, because otherwise I'm sure LinkedIn would not have bothered to add this feature. So we will see what happens on with that feature on LinkedIn. Okay, our content hit of the week is a post called 5 Ways to Find Marketing Inspiration in Your Daily Life. This is written by Mike Madden over on the Marketo blog. By the way, Marketo puts out a lot of really good content. If you're not following them, I definitely recommend putting them on your must-read list. So this one goes out to my fellow content creators, creatives, this one is for you. And it's for those moments or even those entire days, or God forbid, clusters of days or even a week when you just don't have it. You sit down and create some kick-ass content, and then all you can hear in your brain is the gears of creativity grinding to a halt. And you just kind of sit there and drool on yourself, and it's not pretty. Well, Mike is one of us. He is also a content creator, and in this post he shares his 5 favorite strategies for getting those gears moving again. It's a lot of fun to read, very interesting post, and I will of course provide the link in the blog post for this episode. Again, that title is 5 Ways to Find Marketing Inspiration in Your Daily Life by Mike Madden on the Marketo blog. And by the way, I have a cousin named Mike Madden. Wonder what he's up to these days. Okay, that's it for this week's update. If you stumble across something you think would be of interest to your fellow content marketers, please feel free to tweet it to me at @RachParker so that we can share. Now it's time for this week's Spotlight segment. What's up with email in 2017? One of the most insightful comments I ever read about email, and I cannot recall who said this, I read it years ago, but the comment was, it was an observation that email really was the first social media. And if you think about it, if you're old enough to remember those days, it really was. When email came on the scene, it marked the first time that ordinary people and ordinary non-media businesses, so non-capital P publishers, it's the first time they were able to create content and send it out to a large number of people. Well, fast forward a few years after that, social media came along, and a lot of people were proclaiming the death knell for email. They're saying, oh, social media is the new thing. Forget about email. Nobody uses it. Social media is the way to go. Well, guess what has happened? Social media sucks. Okay, at least in terms of organic reach, as we talked about in last week's episode. And for a lot of us, our on again, off again love affair with email is on again. So let's take a look at a few more reasons why email deserves a fresh look in 2017. And what I'm looking at here are results from B2B Content Marketing 2017 Benchmarks, Budgets, and Trends, North America. This is the report published by the Content Marketing Institute and Marketing Profs. If you don't have this, don't yet have access to this document, it's absolutely free to download. I will provide the link in the blog post for this episode. So this is an annual survey where Content Marketing Institute and Marketing Profs partner up to put their finger on the pulse of B2B content marketers. And they also do a corresponding report for B2C. I don't report on it here, but if you want to do a Google search and you're in that B2C field, that has some wonderful insights as well. So in this survey, 77% of respondents, these are B2B marketers, say that they use email newsletters. Okay, so they asked them, get them a list, said check off the ones that use. 77% are using email newsletters. Now, it gets better. In response to the question, which content marketing tactics that your organization uses will be most critical to its overall content marketing success in 2017, 40% of respondents cited email newsletters. Only blogs got a higher response rate at 52%. Then we move on to the question, which channels does your organization use to distribute content? 93% cited email, more than LinkedIn, more than Twitter, more than Facebook. 93% of these respondents said they use email as a channel for distributing content. Now, here is the kicker. In response to the question, quote, how important is each channel your organization uses to its overall content marketing success, unquote. So how important is each channel in you kicking ass and taking names with your content? Email was by far the top response at 91%. So 91% of these B2B marketers said email is the top channel in terms of my organization's overall content marketing success. And just to give you a gauge, LinkedIn was a distant second at 71%. So marketers love email. We do. We loved it before. We love it again. And I think part of this, now I haven't gone back to the past few years to compare how email fared in those earlier years. That would be an interesting thing to look at. But I think we're seeing a resurgence in interest in email, partly to do with the reach-pocalypse that we talked about last week, that organic social media just is not getting in front of people at the rate that we need in order to get our content out there. So yeah, what's old is new again, and we are snuggling back up with email. So now when you get back together with an ex, what's the first thing you do? You get together and you catch up with each other, right? So let's have a little sit down. Let's have a little Starbucks date with email and find out what's been going on the email side, because email has been evolving just like everything else. So let's look at what's up with email content, with email marketing in 2017. One strong trend that I'm noticing is that those e-newsletters are taking on a simpler and more streamlined design. Now, if you subscribe to my tip emails, I send out a tip every Friday. And if you want to check those out, go to resonancetips.com. You will notice that just a couple of weeks ago, we introduced a new look. It is streamlined. It is simplified. Typically, you'll only see two images in there. You'll see a very simple banner and a video screen cap for the video of the week. And that was very deliberate, because I subscribe to a lot of e-newsletters, and I was seeing what people like Social Media Examiner and Neil Patel are doing with their emails. Very, very, very simple. In fact, if you didn't know any better, if you just looked at the format of these emails, you would swear it was just a one-off email that you got from a colleague or an individual. Excuse me. They do not look like marketing emails at all. They're very, very simple. And I think that, the whole slick marketing email, polished, designed look has kind of, I don't want to say backfired, but maybe boomeranged a little bit, because these days it is so easy for any organization to come up with a very professional looking email, and consumers are just bombarded with them. And I mean that on the B2B as well as the B2C level. So I think we're seeing a reaction to that. And when people like Social Media Examiner create their emails, they're saying, okay, we're going to go plain Jane. We're going to look like something that may have come from the person in the next cubicle, because that's more likely to be seen as a source of valuable content and not just another marketing or content marketing tactic. Another force behind these simpler emails is mobile. Remember, over 50% of emails are read on mobile devices first. The more images, the more fancy fonts, the more fancy, the more you have in there, the more time it takes to load. And if you have ever sat there staring at your smartphone while you wait for an image to load, you know the frustration. So another benefit of that more streamlined, simpler design is that they're going to load faster on those mobile devices, which more and more people are using to access emails. Makes sense, right? So as you take a fresh look at email, look at your design and see if you want to experiment with simplifying that and streamlining that a little bit. Okay, another trend we want to talk about is segmentation and personalization. So sending out blanket emails to everyone on your list is no longer the most effective way of managing your email marketing. We need to learn more about our audiences, we need to segment them, and we need to personalize our approach. So we can look at, for example, what time of day do people usually open your emails? You may look at your opens and say, okay, we have two camps. We have people who typically open around, let's say, 8:10 to 8:15 in the morning, and then we have this group that opens 4:15 in the afternoon. Well, would it make sense to have two sendings of that email, one for the morning crowd and one for the afternoon crowd? Would that help increase your interaction with both of those camps? We can also look at types of emails. So some people may be more likely to read longer emails, whereas others are looking for that quick soundbite. And we can also segment along those lines. So the point is we need to dig deeper into the data that we have and start using it to segment along the lines that make sense for us and for our audiences. So along those lines, we need to also look at personalization. How can we personalize that email experience? And by personalization, I don't necessarily mean using a person's first name, either in the subject line or in the greeting. That's kind of a baseline. Everybody does that. But again, we can go in and look at that data available to us and find ways to make content more personal. So what subjects have people been more likely to click on? What does that say about their pain points? We can also look at geography. Where are people located spatially, geographically, and how can we use that information to make our experience more personal? We may want to, if the trends are going that way, you may want to come out with an East Coast and a West Coast version, if that makes sense for your brand and your audience. So we need to go look at the data available, go back to our audience personas and see how we can add more depth to those models, and then use that information to take personalization to a whole new level. And then, of course, once we do that, we want to look at the results and, more data feeds in, adjust to the data, et cetera, rinse, repeat, right? So another area that behooves a second look when we look at our email marketing, I didn't use the right word there. It would behoove us to revisit this topic as we look at our email marketing is interactive elements. So we can now use some pretty cool features in our email newsletters and email content. For example, GIFs. Animated GIFs are the thing on the web, and they can add an element of fun to our emails, where, of course, we want to always be appropriate. Other interactive elements include things like countdown clocks. So I've gotten emails, now this is more on the marketing side, but promoting registrations for a conference. And within the email is a countdown clock to the last day to register for the conference. That could be effective. We're also seeing rotating banners and sliders and even menus and accordions. So ways to expand and collapse information within that email. So look at what your email provider offers in terms of those interactive elements and start experimenting with those to see if they offer a more effective way of getting through to your audience. And then we also want to look at, as a final point, we want to be thoughtful about our subject lines. And as far as what resonates with people when it comes to subject lines, it can be kind of a moving target, but there are certain best practices that we want to stick with. For example, please avoid clickbait. Avoid clickbait. And you know what I'm talking about. These outlandish claims, how you can make $500,000 overnight with a single blog post or something ridiculous like that. We want to be compelling. We want to entice people to click, but we don't want to go overboard. Please, please, please do not promise to blow my mind in an email subject line. We are so over the blow your mind thing. I have yet to have my mind blown. It is firmly in place. No one has blown it yet, and I doubt anyone will. So, it's a tightrope. It's a very fine line between generating excitement and crossing over that line into clickbait. So we need to be very thoughtful about our subject lines. And I've heard many email experts say they spend as much time and effort on their subject lines as they do on the content of the email itself, if not more. One pro tip that I want to share with you is read your subject line aloud as you're considering email subject lines. Read it aloud before you send the email. Does it sound like something you'd want to open if you opened up your Gmail or whatever you have and were faced with 100 unopened emails and only 5 minutes to deal with them? Would this make me want to click on this? And then test things with your audience. If you have people in your audience whom you trust, you can say, hey, would you if faced with these 3 subject lines, which would be more likely to click on? Another issue that comes up a lot in email subject lines is emojis. Many brands are using emojis in their subject lines. I'm still on the fence. I don't know I know that they're cheesy, but are they good cheesy or bad cheesy? One thing you want to look at is whether you're in the B2C or the B2B space. In B2C, if you're in B2C, then yes, emojis can be a fun way of standing out in someone's email feed and making them more likely to click. But on the B2B side, it might look amateurish and unprofessional. So really look at your audience. And then if you're still unsure after looking at all those factors, you can always test them with a very, very small group of subscribers. Do a very, very limited A/B test. Version with emojis in the subject line, version without emojis in the subject line. And, test and see what comes up. So, that's the scoop, folks. That's what's up with email in 2017, what's up with email content, and what's up with email marketing. And, things are constantly shifting and constantly changing. But one thing is for sure, like we talked about last week, social media is not delivering the organic reach that we are looking for to get our content in front of people. So yes, email does deserve a second look. Just look at the marketers that responded to the Content Marketing Institute's survey. Email is the love affair is on again. So we owe it to ourselves to look at what has transpired with email over the past year or so. Look at how those best practices might have changed, like we talked about with a simpler, more streamlined design. And as we look at the options, we need to test, we need to look at our results, and we need to have a constant feed into what we're doing so that we can constantly get better and more effective at reaching our audiences through email. Okay, if you have any questions or want to add to the conversation, please do feel free to hit me up on Twitter. My Twitter ID is @RachParker. Now it's time for our content marketing tip of the week. I want to expand on a point I made just a few minutes ago. If you're still unsure about what works and what doesn't work for you in email content, in terms of email content in 2017, go at it the old-fashioned way. Okay, find people who represent your target audience and ask them. Find out what makes them open an email and what makes them trust individual senders. So there are certain people to whom whose e-newsletters I subscribe to, and they have built a level of trust with me so that whenever I see emails coming from that person, I will automatically give it a look because I trust them to that level. So find out, pick their brains a little bit. Find out what makes them open an email and what makes them trust individual senders. Now, in my experience, if you ask people outright, okay, what do you look for in an email? You'll probably get a shrug and a blank stare. It's like, I don't know. I just know it when I see it. So one thing you can do is put together a simple multiple choice survey. And you don't have to send this out to every single person on your list. You can if you want to, but if you want to, you can keep it confined to a small group of people you trust. And you can put together a little survey using SurveyMonkey or whatever it is that you use. You can ask them things like, you can show them 3 different options of different iterations of email subject lines on the same topic. And you can ask them, which subject line would you be most likely to click on? And you may have a conservative approach, a more pushing the envelope approach, and you might want to include a version with emojis in there to see what types of subject lines people want to click on. You can also ask them, you can do some mock-ups that have no text but show different lengths of email, different formats, different use of images, and you can show them 3 different mock-ups and ask them which email would you be most likely to read, just looking at strictly the format and asking them about that. So you can gain some really, really helpful insights by asking your audience what it is that resonates with them and phrasing your query in a way that makes it easy for them to respond. And then as always, whenever we get people's feedback, we want to thank them for their time and offer a token of appreciation. We can either do a gift card or maybe a drawing for a bigger prize, but we always want to show that appreciation because that firsthand those firsthand insights on what resonates, what works well with our target audiences is going to benefit us just exponentially. It's going to be so helpful in determining how we move forward and how we reach audiences in the future. Okay, campers, that is it for me today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. If you like what you've heard, please feel free to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play Music or via our RSS feed. And if you really like what you've heard, please leave us a quick review on iTunes. Also, remember that my book, The Content Marketing Coach, Everything You Need to Get in the Game and Win, is now available in book and Kindle format on Amazon. In fact, just this morning, I was at a book club, and the club is going to be reading this book, reading my book in a couple of months. So if you have a book club going and if you have a group of like-minded business owners or marketers, this is a great book to choose for an upcoming meeting. So to learn more about the book, to download a free chapter and to snag your copy, just visit contentmarketingcoachbook.com. As you know, I always like to leave you with a quote, and today's comes from Will Rogers. He once said, quote, "Even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there," unquote. Again, this is Rachel Parker with Resonance Content Marketing. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you again next week. Take care.